I am a raw egg. I measured my mass in grams. Then I measured my long and short circumference in centimeters with a string and ruler. I recorded the results in a data chart. I placed myself in a beaker and immersed myself in vinegar. In the vinegar, my shell started to bubble. Vinegar completely dissolved my shell but left the membrane intact, which meant that my shell was removed, but I stayed intact. This was due to the acetic acid in the vinegar. I am made up of calcium carbonate. The acetic acid broke the two apart, letting my shell dissolve into the vinegar. The calcium ions floated away from me into the vinegar, while the carbonate turned into carbon dioxide. The bubbles that formed on me were carbon dioxide. I felt naked. My shell was removed to reveal yellow yolk and clear, transparent, yellowish inside of myself. Myself with tap water, gently rubbing my shell because it was necessary. When finished, there was no shell left on me. I hopped back into the beaker and covered myself with tap water. Then I recovered my beaker with plastic wrap. I was very upset because from day 1 to day 3, my mass increased 17.73 grams. I was heavier. My short circumference increased from 1.3 centimeters from day 1 to day 3. And my long circumference increased 2.3 centimeters. My shell diffused because my insides have a higher concentration of solutes than the vinegar. Therefore, water diffused from the vinegar and moved through my semi-permeable membrane, increasing my circumference. This is called osmosis. Day 4. I am no longer yellow when I am completely immersed in the water. My outside is white and I appear to be glowing. I am rubbery and squishy. I remove myself from the water and gently rinse myself with tap water. Then I placed myself back in the beaker and covered myself with Karo syrup. I covered myself with the plastic wrap and remained there for 1 day. Day 5. While in the solution, I appear deflated and my yolk is visible, while the liquid inside of me is transparent. Once I remove myself from the solution, I realize that there is a white dot on my yolk. The white dot on my yolk is called a germinal disc, also called the blasto disc. It is a small circular white spot, approximately 2 to 3 millimeters across, on the surface of the yellow yolk of any bird's egg. I removed myself from the syrup and realized that I had come to the end of the lab. I cleaned up my materials and left the office. I was happy on day 5 because since day 4 my mass had decreased 45.49 grams. The long circumference decreased 4.3 centimeters and the short circumference decreased 4.45 centimeters. When in the syrup, I stopped growing and began to shrink because syrup molecules are too large to pass through the egg's membrane. The percent change will be positive because a hypertonic solution is a solution having a greater solute concentration than the cytosol. It contains a greater concentration of impermeable solutes on the external side of the membrane. When a cell's cytoplasm is bathed in a hypertonic solution, the water will be drawn into the solution and out of the cell by osmosis. If water molecules continue to diffuse out of the cell, it will cause the cell to shrink or crenate. The percent change will be negative because a hypotonic solution is a solution having a lesser solute concentration than the cytosol. It contains a lesser concentration of impermeable solutes on the external side of the membrane. When a cell's cytoplasm is bathed in a hypotonic solution, the water will be drawn out of the solution and into the cell by osmosis. If water molecules continue to diffuse into the cell, it will cause the cell to swell up to the point that cytolysis, aka rupture, may occur. There would be no percent change in the isotonic solution because a condition or property of a solution in which its solute concentration is the same as the solute concentration of another solution with which it is compared. Day 3 analysis. The distilled water solution was hypotonic compared to myself, because the water moved inside of me. Compared to myself, the egg, the syrup solution was hypertonic because it had a greater solute concentration. I believe my mass measurements were more accurate because the measurements of the circumference were not as direct. Before I was sold, when I was chilling at the supermarket, my friends the vegetables were sprinkled with distilled water. This is because water diffused into the vegetables, so they stayed full. I was jealous of their shower. On the way home, I noticed that the roads are sometimes salted to melt the ice. I know that this salt affected the plasma membrane of plants on the roadside.